from your hometown election headquarters. This is an NBC Right Now virtual election hall.
Good evening, I'm Scott Daniels, and thank you for joining us for our political town hall. In the age of COVID, we went completely virtual. The election day, just days away, we've invited candidates from some of the biggest and closest races to answer some questions for us. We've asked each candidate the same 4 questions with a time limit of roughly 90 seconds to answer. The hot list of races include Congressional District 4, Benton County Commissioner District 1 and 3, Franklin County Commissioner District 1 and 2, and Legislative District 8, State Representative Position 1. We start off tonight with the biggest race, Congressional District 4. Incumbent Dan Newhouse was the only candidate in this town hall to decline an invitation. Here's his challenger, Douglas McKinley.
How about an opening statement from you?
Hi, my name is Doug McKinley, and I'm running for Congress in Washington's 4th Congressional District. I've lived here in Richland for 30 years. My wife and I have raised 4 sons. They're attending Washington State University. The younger 2 and the other 2 are grown and graduated. I'm running for Congress because I think that the federal government needs to do more to make our economy act in an equitable manner and to build a broad middle class where the prosperity that we generate is widely shared. What we've seen over the last 40 years is a vast concentration of wealth into a very small number of very, very wealthy people, where the majority of the American public is struggling to get by. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And I think federal policy can change that. I think federal policy can make the middle class wealthier than they are now by bringing down housing costs, bringing down healthcare costs, bringing down the cost for education, and increasing workers' bargaining power and increasing their salaries. So that's what motivated me to run for Congress.
Mr. McKinley, give us your 2 biggest concerns and why.
My 2 biggest concerns, just generally speaking, my 2 biggest concerns.
Very general, yes. Your 2 biggest concerns and why.
General. That's pretty general. I think that the United States has here's my biggest concern. My biggest concern is, I grew up in the 1970s and in the 1980s. And during that time economically, the nation was experiencing growth in productivity. And over the course of my, youth, that productivity was broadly shared with the American public. The people who worked in the factories and the stores and the hospitals and the grocery stores and, what have you, their raises, their wages, and their salaries rose with the economy. And then sometime around 1980, that effect was decoupled. And what happened, if you look at the data from the Federal Reserve, what happened is people's salaries and their incomes kind of flatlined, and they no longer were sharing in the productivity gains of the United States. Now, the productivity gains continued, and in fact, they increased. We had massive productivity gains as a result of, for example, the widespread adoption of computer technology and networking technology that really made, vast improvements in workplaces. But those gains were not shared with the workers. Those gains for the last 4 decades have been funneled into the hands of a very small coterie of billionaires at the top of our economic system. And what that's left us with is an environment where healthcare costs continue to rise, education costs continue to rise, rents and housing costs continue to rise. And the average guy, the average salary worker, the average wage earner is feeling the squeeze. And they're feeling the squeeze such that, one setback, one health setback or a broken car, something like that for a regular worker in our economy can, cost them their housing. People can wind up being homeless because they have no cushion. They have no accumulated wealth, and they really have no way to get it because they have no bargaining power to increase their wages with their jobs. So, it's really one thing that animates me, and it's bringing back the America of my youth, where you had the productivity gains being shared with the working class people who are generating that wealth.
Question number 2. What would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, for one thing, I would be honest with the American public. I think a lot of our problems have been driven by the White House, frankly, and Donald Trump and his leadership or lack thereof, constantly undermining the government experts, giving contradictory advice about, simple things like wearing a mask. And, the results speak for themselves. Our country has, massively high infection rates and massively high death rates compared to all our Western European and Asian economic competitors. It's clear that we could have done a better job because other countries did do a better job. My political philosophy, if I have one, is sort of extreme pragmatism. When I look out into the world and what would I make as public policy for the United States? It's a very simple equation. What works? What have other countries done that does well? What has our country done that has worked well? Whatever the best in class is, we should emulate that and expect similar results.
Question number 3. What will be your first goal when you take office?
Well, my first goal when I take the oath of office is to join the Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and push them towards legislation which will lower healthcare costs, which will lower the cost of education, which will raise their wages and their bargaining power with their employers, and will lower their housing costs. I think, if we just get a couple of things right in this country, we can really turn people's life trajectories around. We can really make it easier for people to own a home and go on a vacation, every now and again, and be able to put their kids through college or, send them off to trade school without accumulating massive amounts of debt. And I think, the first thing that we have to do is recognize that that's a problem. Recognize that, for tens of millions of American families, the American dream is elusive. It's always sort of one step out of reach. And they're on this treadmill, this hamster wheel of working all the time and not getting anywhere for it. And we need to really change that. And so my first goal would be to make that the priority of our federal government, to make sure that we were putting all our efforts forward in increasing the standard of living of the American public.
Final question, Mr. McKinley. That's sort of a fun one. It's been a divisive year for politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
Yeah, I can say a lot of nice things about Dan Newhouse. Dan Newhouse is a very cordial individual. He's a very pleasant person. I think, though, that Dan has had a very easy life compared to a lot of people in his district. He's, inherited a multi-million-dollar business. Most people who live in Eastern Washington didn't inherit a multi-million-dollar business. And so I think he struggles with understanding the struggles of people who haven't been as economically fortunate as he has. That said, he is a very friendly man, a very cordial man, and a very polite man. And I think our president could learn a lot from Dan's style, the way Dan conducts himself in public.
Thank you, Mr. McKinley. Your final closing statement for tonight.
I would ask the voters to think about what they want the government to do. Do they want the government to be focused on, fighting each other? Or do they want the government to be focused on making their lives better? My promise to the men and women in the 4th Congressional District is that if you elect me to Congress, I will be working full time with one and only one goal in mind. And that is to make your standard of living better, to make it so that you have more disposable income, to make it so that you can afford some of the luxuries in life, to make it so that you can build wealth in your family, to make it so that you and your kids will be successful. We've done it before in this country, and we see other countries that do, frankly, a better job than we're doing. It's not impossible. We can get back to an economy that creates a broadly based prosperity for everyone. That's what you get with me. That's why I want your vote.
Now, before we move on, for those who are still not registered to vote, you have time to register. You can do it online until October 26th or in person at a county elections office through Election Day. You can also register or update your address by mail until October 26th. Make sure you get your ballot in on time. It's best to start the process as soon as possible. Now to the race for Benton County Commissioner District Number 1. Joining us is Commissioner Jerome Delvin and challenger Justin Raffa.
Then how about we begin, sir? your opening statement. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my name is Jerome Delvin. I'm currently the Benton County Commissioner for District 1. I'm running for my third and final term as Commissioner. I think my experience is what's needed during these difficult times with the COVID and issues going on within Benton County Sheriff's Department. My experience, background, I should say, I was born and raised in Richland, 1974 bomber Cole High graduate, went into the Army right after high school, joined the U.S. Army for 3 years as a military policeman. I came back, I became a Richland police officer for over 28 years. I served in the capacity as the DARE officer, the off-road vehicle officer. I was a bomb technician for 20 years. And I also was a sniper on the SWAT team and a state certified instructor for sniping. I also spent 10 years in the State House of Representatives when I was serving as a police officer representing the 8th District. After that 10 years, I moved on to the State Senate for 10 years representing the 8th District. I served in leadership capacity throughout that whole 20 years and different chairs of different committees in both bodies. I ran for county commissioner because I thought I could help the county with some issues that were going on at the time that I learned as a state legislator. I ran and got elected, and so I'm running again for my third time and my final time. But I think during these times I have the experience, the contacts in Olympia that's certainly benefited the counties and the cities in Benton County, and also the experience now with the county during these COVID times when it relates to the budget and other issues.
All right, your opening statement begins now.
Hi, I'm Justin Raffa, candidate for Benton County Commissioner in District 1. Our county government has flown under the radar for too long. Many citizens don't know what services it stewards or who their commissioners are. I want to engage the public and expand the transparency of the commissioners. I will bring a balanced approach to decision-making and budgeting, a civil voice to county government, and I believe I am the responsible choice in this race as we continue to battle COVID-19 well into the future. I am prepared to fulfill the responsibilities of the office and leverage my experience as a leader in my industry over the past 2 decades. I've been a full-time candidate and have done my research. I'm ready to be present and show up to do the work as a full-time commissioner for our citizens. I stand for governance, not grandstanding. I'm not quick to point fingers and assign blame, and see myself as a voice that is committed to civility and respect in our political discourse. I believe the best decisions are made when opposing viewpoints are thoughtfully considered and debated by focusing on issues and allowing the public to engage in the process. I'm a founding member of the Tri-City Civility Caucus and was elected by the members as its chair. I've received bipartisan support in my public endorsements as a reflection of relationships I've developed through my work in nonpartisan sectors, including that of former Representative Larry Haler and former Benton County Republican Party Chair Patrick McBurney. I'm a professional musician and arts administrator who has served on nonprofit boards and city and state commissions for 20 years. I care about this community, and I want the best for all of its citizens. I will bring new eyes, new energy, new empathy, and a renewed commitment to the role of Benton County Commissioner, District 1. Thank you.
The first question for you, sir. Give us your top 2 concerns and why.
Well, the top 2, I would narrow them down to the budget because of the COVID. Our retail sales tax and the public safety tax is down respectively 7% and 4%. So we need to be cautious of that budget and developing that budget now for the next 2 years. The other concern at the county is what's happening in the Sheriff's Department. And I think that needs someone who has experience working with working with the deputies, working through the system, because we have very little opportunity as county commissioners really when it comes to working with other electeds, except for working with them, trying to work with them. But those issues need to be solved somehow because it's taken a toll on the sheriff's deputies.
The first question is, what are your 2 biggest concerns and why?
Yeah, part of my concern about the operation of the county is transparency to the public. And I have wanted to make the role of the commissioners more transparent to the citizens that it serves. I will create more community engagement and help differentiate how county government services vary from those at different levels. A lot of people don't know the services that the county stewards, they don't even know who their commissioners are. So I want to shine a light and help educate our community so they understand the important role that county government plays and how they connect with our local jurisdictions and to the state level in Olympia. I want to foster an environment where citizens feel welcome to participate in county government by providing public comment at meetings and communicate with commissioners without fear of criticism or embarrassment from defensive replies. And I think it's fair to say the biggest challenge for all counties in the state and across the country is the continued response to COVID-19. I believe in science, I believe in medical experts, and I want to work with those communities so that we have a collective response to this ongoing issue. COVID-19 is going to be around for quite some time. We want to make sure that we have a collaborative approach, that we have the right people at the table, that we're looking at local numbers, not just based off of state or national trends, so that we have a specific response as we continue to safeguard the health and well-being of the 200,000 plus residents of the county, but also allow businesses to function and reopen. I believe there's a balanced approach that I will bring.
Our second question here. What would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 crisis?
I don't think I'd do anything different than what we have. As a board member of the Franklin County Health Board, we make decisions. In fact, when the first order came out from the governor, the stay home, stay put, stay safe order. After that, what we did is I pushed the health district to apply for phase 2. Even though we weren't eligible, I thought it was important to get our economy back and get people back to work and such. So we pushed that with the health district. We submitted our application. We got turned down, of course. We got put on pause. But when working with the Department of Health at the state level, with the Secretary of Health, and then Dr. Lofi, she's the state health officer, working with her, we've been able to get what we have. So anything different, I don't think I would do anything different. I mean, my whole time here has been advocating for the Tri-Cities as a whole to get our businesses open and the schools, making sure that they have safe openings for the schools, but also things like dance studios. That's something I got the Secretary of Health to buy into, and so the dance studios were allowed to open here. Gymnastics, the neighborhood pools this summer. That was something I personally worked on with the Secretary of Health and the state health officer. So I think we've done well compared to what our numbers were and what they have been as compared to the other counties in the state.
You mentioned COVID-19. That's our next question. What would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
I believe that the county's response to a global pandemic was too little, too late. And it was nearly 4 months after its official declaration as such a global pandemic that's when I started to see a local response be stimulated. I think there was an opportunity for the county to be more proactive and more aggressive in its response, get out in front of these issues, find ways to work with the governor's office, with the local Benton Franklin Health District to make sure that everybody is working together. What I saw in meetings even as late as June was a lot of assigning of blame, use of metaphors about the rules of the game keep changing mid-game, or the goalposts keep moving down the field. And that kind of critical grandstanding and pointing of fingers, that doesn't help us locally. Unfortunately, there were issues around making public health and masking that became a real partisan issue. And I think that the county had a great opportunity to be leaders on this front, to work with our local jurisdictions, have an actionable plan. There's no reason why this county should not have advanced to phase 2 before the governor's pause. And now we find ourselves in this modified phase for quite some time.
What will be your first goal if you were to take office for another term?
Well, the first goal, I think, is to complete our building projects. That'd be one of the goals. I don't think one outweighs the other, but we started to improve our infrastructure for the county because the county has grown so much and we haven't kept up when it comes to facilities. We have several projects in the works and more on the board. But also working again on the sheriff's department, making sure that we have one of the best run jails. We have professionals that run that jail, and they're doing a great job, even with all this COVID. We haven't had one COVID case in the jail, so I think that's pretty spectacular. So there's many goals I have. It's one of the reasons I'm running one more time, is to see some of these things that we started completed, but also have the experience during these difficult times.
What would be your first goal when you take office?
I think it's important that the county has relationships of mutual trust and respect between all of its jurisdictional partners. We talk so much about this region, whether it's the Tri-Cities or Benton Franklin counties. There's an important relationship between those two counties in terms of the prosperity of our entire region. There are a number of important services that are stewarded between those two counties across the river. And I am concerned about the nature of those relationships that start with the individual relationships of those elected officials, that they find ways to explore common ground solutions, that we don't watch our local elected officials in public meetings who are using harsh words at other electeds and name calling. That's not what we need in government. Good governance is when everyone is working together for the will of all the constituents. So I want to make sure that I repair and help maintain some of these relationships so that we can be a true Tri-City, bi-county regional community that has a strong vision for its future growth and success.
Last question here. It's been a year of divisive politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
Well, oh, sure. I can say nice about anything. It's about anybody, but thanks for that. I mean, I just met him. I haven't met him personally. It's just on these forums and stuff, video type. He's young, he's energetic. That's good. I mean, I've never sweated, or not sweated, that's not the right word, but I've always wanted competition for election. I think that's what the public needs. And so I talk about the issues. I don't talk about my opponents, and I hope my opponents do the same. But as far as I know, he's a nice young man. He's kind of integrated into this community. I have a lot of friends that know him. They say good things about him. So personally, I think, it's good to have him in the race because the voters need to have different ideas. And that's why I've never been a career politician. It may sound like I ran, but I've never been a career politician. I've never accepted a pension from any of the public offices I've held. That's not why I do it. I do it for the service for our community.
It's been a year of divisive politics. For our fourth and final question, can you say something nice about your opponent?
My opponent has over 25-year record as a public servant in the region, and credit where credit is due. He has done good work for our region in his role as a state representative, as a state senator, and even during his time as county commissioner for the past 2 years. I applaud his efforts. I understand the incredible strain and public scrutiny that elected officials go through, especially those in partisan positions. It's not often a very rewarding job. You receive more critiques and criticism than you do thanks and encouragement. So I certainly would acknowledge the successes that he has brought our region in his tenure as an elected official.
All right. Thanks again for answering our questions. And your final statement, you have, again, 90 seconds.
Well, I kind of just said, I think, during these times with the COVID and the challenges in our community, I think my experience helps a lot in those regards. My experience in the state with the state legislature, but also state government officials. In fact, just today I had a government official call me and ask me some questions about this area and who who I could direct them to. So those contacts are pretty important. But all the experience as a county commissioner, there's a lot of complexities when it comes to running different agencies within that, working with the other elected officials that they run their office separately. But you got to have that good communication, and you need to have that experience, especially with this budget year and the possible ramifications of the COVID-19. I just think you need some steady steerage through these times, and I think the experience will pay off for the voters of Benton County.
Yes, we still have one more closing statement. You have 90 seconds for that. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with all of you tonight. You know, whether you're a long-time voter, a first-time voter, a disenfranchised voter, or eligible to vote, that you're eligible to vote but never have, I invite you to please exercise your right and let your voice be heard by casting your vote in the general election coming up on November 3rd. Ballots will go out in the mail around October 16, so you have plenty of time to fill it out. Please be sure to sign that outer envelope of your ballot and return it to a county auditor designated drop box to ensure it's counted. For more information about my campaign and list of bipartisan public endorsements from community leaders and small businesses, please visit my website, www.justinraffa.com, and follow me on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you're a voter in Benton County, please vote for Justin Raffa, a balanced approach, a civil voice, and the responsible choice for Benton County Commissioner District 1. Thank you.
When you get your mail-in ballot, here's how you fill it out properly. Once you fill out your ballot, make sure your signature matches the one on your driver's license. Also, make sure you place your ballot in the provided secrecy envelope before placing it inside your prepaid postage return envelope. You can then return your ballot by mail or by dropping it off in person at the post office. Another way, dropping it off in a secure and official ballot box. Now to the race for Benton County Commissioner District Number 3. Joining us is Commissioner James Beaver and challenger Will McKay. You have 90 seconds for your opening statement. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. I want to thank KNDU and the team there for the opportunity to be involved in the town hall. My name is Jim Beaver. I live in Kennewick, Washington. I'm married. I have 2 grown children and 4 grandchildren. I've spent most of my life in Kennewick. Grew up in the Kennewick school system, graduated from Kennewick High, went to Washington State University, got a degree in economics, and then ran my family business for, 37 years. My dad turned it over to me and said good luck. So we were in the furniture business for 37 years. Got involved in politics, and the more I knew, the more I wanted to figure out how to make it better. So that was my whole ambition in my political career, which has spanned 30 years now. I spent 18 years, like I said, on the Kennewick City Council, and I was the mayor of Kennewick for 13 years. And then I got involved in county politics and said, let's see if we can't fix this thing, make it a little better. So that's my platform. All I want to do is make things better, make our community better, and the foundation of my whole political career has been building a better community. That's been my slogan. That's been my mission, my vision. I just want to build a better place, and so that's kind of what I've been doing.
You have 90 seconds for your opening statement. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Will McKay, District 3 Commissioner. I'm running for that position. I grew up here in the Tri-Cities, graduated from Southridge High School and went to college. Met my beautiful wife. We have 4 kids here in the Tri-Cities, and I have been running my own personal business since 2013. And with that, bringing business and business management expertise, I feel like I'm qualified to be a commissioner here and help better the community and the county with issues that have been coming up.
First question, give us your top 2 concerns and why.
Top 2 concerns as a county commissioner would be water. So we're still negotiating water rights. I don't want any kind of construction or situations to slow the growth of our communities. And so we're working with the Department of Ecology at the state, and we're working with everybody to figure out how we can negotiate better water situations. And so when the Yakima River gets really low, they say things like no more building permits and no more activity in the county. The cities have a different right because they're actually on more of the Columbia River, but that's a big issue for me. And then my other issue is money. Our biggest job is to look at the budget and to see where we're at. And right now we're $5 million out of round, which means that our baseline budget for the 2021-2022 budget is $5 million in requests more than anticipated revenue. And that's a problem for us. And so I'm just trying to work through that issue. So there's my two big issues, the budget and water.
Give us your top two concerns and why.
My top two concerns, I feel, are the budget. I feel obviously our budget is going to be extremely be an issue here in the next 4 or 5 years until we get our economy opened up. So the budget's number one concern, and I think that there's misinformation in the commissioner's seat and area. That 2 weeks ago, the auditor or accountant came in, said that we were $5 million over budget, and they were or $3 million over budget. And I can't remember the exact number, but it was a lot of money. And they were kind of shocked about that. And then we had the other group come in and say that they wanted to add $3 million to their budget, which we shouldn't be doing because we don't have the money right now to spend. We need to budgetize and prioritize and find out what's important to for the money. Also, the second one is the COVID. Obviously, that one should be the first one, is the COVID. We need to get open back up. Our commissioners multiple times have said, I'm done talking to the governor. I'm done fighting with the governor. He's not taking my phone calls. But they're not paid to be done. They're paid to fight for us and get us back open. Our deaths are dropping dramatically in the past 3 months, and we haven't even applied for phase 2. Even though the governor says he's not going to move any phases, we still need to be working with our health district and with the governor to open ourselves back up. So those are the two issues I hope to resolve. Thank you.
What would you do differently in handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I would do a different campaign. We tried to go through the Benton Franklin Health District, and we were kind of trying to figure out how that worked. We should have done a better job advertising and trying to convince our citizens that the mask and social distancing is something we have to do. We got a lot of pushback from current governor governor, and then some other elected officials about how we approach that. So it created a little friction between the state and, say, some other counties about how we handle that. That was unfortunate, but we had to follow the rules. We had to follow the state health guidelines, and so it did create a bigger problem for us.
What would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
Differently, I would have, back up a little bit on what got me going with this is to run for this is COVID. Driving down the road, I hear that Franklin County is writing a letter to the governor. Our commissioners got asked to join that letter. We didn't join the letter. How come we didn't? I think there's horrible communication that needs to get fixed. And that letter would have been a lot stronger if we had Benton County, if we had Walla Walla, Yakima, if we had a lot of counties writing to the governor, say, Mr. Governor, let us as commissioners, let us as the health districts talk to the owners, train the owners, and then let the people, the guests or the customers come in and choose to go in. It should be our choice to basically be open. It should be our choice if we want to go to church or not go to church. If we want to feel safe, if we feel safe, then we should go. If we don't feel safe, then we're going to stay home. So it should be our choice. So I think that the lack of communication between the counties was a big issue, but also with our commissioners not fighting for us and not having any skin in the game. I have a business, a construction business, and I also have another small business. Those two, the choices that I make affect me. It affects my family, and it also affects all the people in Benton County, and it affects people in Franklin County too, because we're not teamed up with Franklin County to resolve some of these issues that we're having.
Should you get reelected, what will be your first goal when you go back into office?
First goal would be to try to fix that big budget problem and make sure we can run the county efficiently and effectively and still have the same programs we've got. There again, like I said, there's requests for additional programs, but you can't have additional programs when you're $5 million in the hole. So this is going to be an interesting time for anybody who's an elected official, in my opinion, to try to move forward and try to run a program that's actually have revenue that is not meeting the obligations that are requested. So,
should you win this election, what would be your first goal when you take office?
If I win, when I win, my first goal is basically to do a lot of auditing, looking into the numbers, where money is getting spent. I think that our public safety tax isn't getting used properly. Us as Benton Countyans, we're spending, I just sound like the governor, Benton County people, we're spending money, there's, paying taxes to the county on this public safety tax. Coincidentally enough, we're finally tapping into that public safety tax this year. I'll give you a perfect example. 5 years ago, a young girl died at 3 years old because the deputy didn't have any cell phone service or radio service. That radio tower finally got approved a couple months ago or 3 months ago to get built. It's been 5 years for a radio tower to get built. That shouldn't have happened. Being in the construction industry, if anything, that should have taken 2 years on permitting and stuff. It shouldn't have taken 5 years. So my number one priority would be to get us open, but also the budgeting part of it as well.
And it's finally, this is our last question here. It's been a year of divisive politics. Say something nice about your opponent.
I think he's a good man. I think he's trying hard. He's trying to raise his family, and I applaud his effort for doing that. I raised my family here. Now I have grandkids, and I totally understand where he's coming from. And I think he has a passion. So I get that. I started this political career 30 years ago. I still have that passion. I mean, it's burning all the time. I get up every day and try to make a better place for people, and that's my goal. So I can understand his desire, if you will.
Our final question in the question and answer portion. This has been a divisive year for politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
Mr. Beaver, he's been doing this for 30 plus years. I appreciate his loyalty to the county and serving the community in the county. Nice wise, a great guy. I've never met him in person yet, but a good guy. I feel that it's time for a change, and that's where I'm at. I'll give you an example. Mr. Beaver hasn't been getting to the meetings for the Benton Franklin Health District meetings. And we've had 9 meetings that I can get off of online. August and September hasn't been posted yet for the minutes, but there's 9 meetings. He's only been to 3 of those 9 meetings. Again, I don't know why he hasn't been to those meetings, but we need to be at those meetings because those meetings are more important than church, because we're barely going back to church. We're barely opening up in some areas, but we should be opened up a lot more. There's a lot more counties that haven't been opened up or that are opened up better than us, but have worse numbers than us, because I think that the people in the leadership role are fighting for the people in those counties. So again, Mr. Beaver, nice guy. I appreciate his service. We just need change for someone that will be going to the meetings and representing our constituents.
And finally, sir, your closing statement. You have 90 seconds. Go ahead.
I would appreciate the support. I'd like the citizens to vote early and vote often for Jim Beaver. I would appreciate that. It's been an honor to serve our community for the last 30 years, both as a council member, then as the mayor of Kennewick, and now as a county commissioner. I think we got a ways to go, and I think goals and ambitions are the thing that leads us to a place that's better than yesterday. So I'm kind of a man that likes to talk about vision, and I like to talk about goals. And I think goals is what brings the community to a different place. So I've always said, what are we going to look like 5-10 years from now? So what kind of a community are we going to have? And if we can get that vision out there and we can get people talking about it and we can share the vision, what are we going to be when we grow up? There's counties on the other side of the country that are 100 years older than us. So I get it. We're kind of young as a county, actually. So what are we going to look like when we grow up? And, what are we going to do to economically support our community and our citizens, and how are we going to build a better place? And so that's really my platform.
Let's show you the locations of where you can drop off the mailed-in ballots. Some of the locations in Benton County are Kennewick City Hall, WSU Tri-Cities, the Prosser Courthouse, and the West Richland Library. In Franklin County, you can find ballot drop-off boxes at the Franklin County Courthouse in Pasco, Connell PUD Shop, the Election Center on 3rd Avenue in Pasco, and the Hapo Center in Pasco. Elections officials say don't drop off your ballot at a box unless it's listed on your county's official website. Now to the race for Franklin County Commissioner District Number 1. Joining us is Kim Learman and Brad Peck.
You have 90 seconds for your opening statement. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first off, thanks for the opportunity to share with your viewers what I think is a very important message about local governance, and that is that our elected officials need to be advocates for citizens, not advocates for government. I view my role as a commissioner as being the person who works alongside a constituent or a citizen to get what they need in the way of services and support and respect from local government. The second thing I would share is that we're at an interesting crossroads here in terms of commissioners in Franklin County. We've got one commissioner, Bob Cook, who is retiring at the end of the year. And we have another commissioner who is relatively new, still partway through his first term and on a steep learning curve. I've been a commissioner for several years now. Frankly, one of the more experienced commissioners in the state of Washington. That has a number of advantages. One, I'm able to lead the board in difficult times, as we've seen recently with COVID, where there's been some movement to try and take some steps that aren't lawful to open up the county. At the same time, working very closely with the governor's staff to do just that, to open up the county, but to do it safely. I'm a retired military officer. My wife and I came here in the early 2000s. We purchased the old Moore Mansion place and restored that, and have recently moved on to a new home here in West Pasco. The experience of living all over the country and in different countries, frankly, together with several years in power generation, nuclear, wind, solar, hydro, and now being a commissioner, just gives me a real broad background and an opportunity, I think, to serve all the citizens of Franklin County.
90 seconds for your opening statement. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, KNDU, for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Kim Learman, and I'm running for your next Franklin County Commissioner for District 1. I was raised on my family's cattle and alfalfa farm, where I learned the value of hard work. I also learned that the best way to get a job done is to work as a team, where everyone feels supported, listened to, and respected. I'm running for Franklin County Commissioner because Franklin County residents deserve someone who believes that the best way to lead is to listen to the people who live in our county and then act accordingly. For 13 years, I have taught over 1,000 students as an agriculture and welding educator in the classroom and beyond the classroom walls. I left teaching to stay home with my children, but found other ways to serve students by focusing on improving my community. Among the things I did was serving as a parent chair for a collaborative organization, helping to increase student academic success, working to pass school levy and bond in 2016 and 2017, and coaching around 150 boys and girls in soccer and basketball, instilling in them the value of teamwork. I do this work to ensure that our children have the future they deserve. I will collaborate with other county officers, our cities, by county agencies, the Benton Franklin Health District, and both the state and federal government. I will seek and value the 2,500 years of collective expertise from our hardworking county staff. As a proud mother of 4, and as someone who's lived in our community for many years, I know the values that we want in our county government, and I'll fight to uphold them.
Give us your top 2 concerns and why.
Okay, well, the first one clearly is dealing effectively with the COVID pandemic. I'm of the opinion that the virus is spread by human behavior. It's not spread by geography. And by that, I mean, I don't really think it matters much whether you're standing in your backyard or you're standing at an outside church service or you're in some other geographic location. It's proximity to other people, sanitization practices. So I've been advocating to the governor's staff and frankly to the governor that we need to open up everything that we possibly can with the stipulation that everybody's going to wear masks. We're going to social distance. We're going to be sincere about doing this. And it's not going to be a sort of every now and again thing. We're going to do it all the time until we're past this. And then the sanitizing. If we do those things, frankly, I don't think it matters, again, whether you're sitting on a patio at a restaurant or frankly, even sitting in a movie theater 10 feet apart. I realize that reduces the number of people a theater could have, but it still allows them to open and make some traction toward coming out of this. So the COVID one is very important. The next is one that we anticipated was going to be a very serious problem, but it's starting to look like we may actually get some relief. And it has to do with the budget for next year. Not many people have had reason to study it, but a lot of growth over in Franklin County is bringing us property tax revenue that we didn't have last year, and that's going to help us make up some of the deficit that's been brought on by COVID. So budget-wise, we're going to be within a 1% window, and I think we'll be okay. But until yesterday, we thought this was going to be a very serious problem.
Give us your top 2 concerns and why.
The voters of Franklin County deserve a transparent county government, a government they can trust. The county government has a responsibility to serve all of our Franklin County residents. When 40% of our residents speak and read a language other than English, yet our county website does not reflect the needs of our residents, we have a serious problem. Our Franklin County meetings are held at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, when 60% of our residents are working people who are not going to be able to participate. When you don't speak to the community as a whole, when you hold meetings at a time when most people can't attend, who is the county serving? We have commissioners continuing policies that appear to serve some instead of all of our residents. When your county government is inaccessible to everyone, lacks transparency, and doesn't invite your voice into the county government, then you do not have the trust of the Franklin County residents. When a government at any level does not enjoy the trust of those it seeks to serve, then new leadership is needed. I'm running because I'm willing to step up and fight for an accessible county. I will survey the residents to invite their voices in to learn how Franklin County can better serve its residents as we revamp the county government website, look into moving the county commissioner meetings to a time more accessible for our residents, work with the courts to invite in a translator services to translate the commissioner meetings in real time. I will hold regular office hours so that public can meet with me. I will create and support 4 volunteer citizen commissions: salary, ethics, budget review, and finally, an inclusive and diversity commission. This governing style of avoidance of interacting with our county residents has gone on far too long.
So you mentioned it earlier, but what would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, early on, Franklin County took a vote to, quote, open the county, and several other counties did as well. We weren't the only ones. There was a mixture of guidance out there about, what we could and couldn't do and how much authority was at the governor's level, how much we had. And we took that vote. We found out virtually the same day that we, in fact, didn't have that authority. So I'm the one that came forward and said, we need to do another motion to rescind that one and explain to our citizens that the governor has held this authority at the state level. And so hindsight, I wouldn't have supported reopening, although we thought at the time we had that authority. And I think the other thing is, I think I would have pressed even more than I did. Frankly, I did push pretty hard to get the health district leadership out in front. because as much as this is a county issue, the fact of the matter is Dr. Purse at the health district is a medical doctor. She is our expert. And Jason Zakaria, the head of the health district, they needed to lead this effort, not several different counties who may have different points of view. We're a combined health district. We did, I think, do a very good job of making sure they had all the funding they needed, providing the support. But hindsight, I would like to have seen us gotten them a lot more professional communications help early on to get some of the messaging out to the community about what they may and may not do under the rules. And I suppose just real quickly, one other thing is I would hope that we could have gotten the state legislature to reel back some of the authority given to the governor. I understand they had to take a tough vote in July of last year, but it's proving to have been a real problem. And if we could undo that somehow, that would be fabulous.
What would you do differently in handling the coronavirus pandemic?
In April, there was a COVID-19 outbreak reported at the Tyson plant, with many Franklin County residents sick, including one death. Our residents were suffering and scared. Yet our county leaders, Commissioner Peck included, enthusiastically voted to reopen the county. At that April 21st meeting, Commissioner Peck brought forward a random state law insisting that he had read the law and repeatedly suggested that the governor instantly had no authority to act. Commissioner Peck did not vet his interpretation of the statute he cited through the county's legal services, and chaos ensued. I would have approached the meeting differently. First, I would have supported the conclusions of Benton Franklin Health District and publicly acknowledged their efforts. Secondly, I would have done my research, contacted the governor's office, consulted our legal counsel before making or holding any votes. And finally, if the vote had occurred, I would have also offered a full and genuine apology to the citizens of Franklin County. The confusion that our commission has created with this chaotic COVID-19 response has been substantial. Their decision has further frayed relations with Benton County and the governor's office, threatened the health and lives of our residents, and slow down our economic recovery. Commissioner Peck had the opportunity to offer county real leadership to protect our frontline workers and show even his worst critic that he lives by the values he preaches. He did not.
Should you win, what would be your first goal once you take office again?
Well, there are no shortage of things that the county needs, but I have recently been appointed to the County Road Administration Board. There are 39 counties in Washington. Each county has a representative with the Washington State Association of Counties. They elected me or appointed me unanimously about a week ago to serve on this statewide 9-member board that oversees county roads and the administration of funds. So one of the things now, having, it appears, gotten past the major budget threats and the fact that we're already engaged with COVID, the third thing there would be to oversee those statewide distribution of gasoline taxes and county road funds to make sure that Eastern Washington counties, all counties, frankly, that's the obligation of the position, but that our county and Eastern Washington and all the counties are getting an equitable share of what are going to be very, very short transportation funds for the next few years. So continue to press forward and take care of COVID, continue to take care of the budget issues, and then look out for our county road system, which is years behind in funding.
And our third question here, should you win election, what would be your first goal when you take office?
I'll bring a fresh start to the commission, meaning that I'll offer innovative solutions. I'll push for a top to bottom budget analysis that allows for department heads and a citizen budget review commission to comb through the budget. Only after working with our county government, employees, and the citizens of our county, we will then work with my fellow commissioners to create a new concept of governing priorities. Without governing priorities, our Franklin County Commission will continue to govern in a reactionary manner. Last year, $1.7 million was transferred out of the roads funds to fill a hole in the county budget. We cannot continue this budgeting practice. We need to make sure that all of our decisions fall within our governing priorities, therefore to increase efficiency of our county taxpayers' dollars. Some of our ongoing issues in Franklin County can be addressed through innovation. Hiring a part-time grant writer is an innovative solution that can assist us in many areas, including applying and receiving additional transportation and infrastructure grants for improving our neglected county roads, as well as U.S. Department of Agriculture and Washington State Commerce grants to finally bring reliable internet service that is desperately needed across our county. This grant writer can help us seek funds to pay for the Sheriff's Office app that is downloadable to the public to keep citizens updated on local emergencies, as well as the ability to safely report out such issues as domestic violence. Further, the grant writer can collaborate with the City of Pasco, Port of Pasco, creating a much better opportunity to obtain reliable, available resources as we try to get out of this COVID-19 pandemic.
Our fourth and final question. It's been a year of divisive politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
Well, absolutely. And it's not even a challenge to do so. I give great credit to people who are in the arena. Theodore Roosevelt gave a speech more than a century ago where he talked about credit goes to the people who are willing to step up and who are willing to be in the arena. And that we ought not listen so much to those critics that are circling the arena who have never engaged themselves. I think it closes with something to the effect of never known the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. The simple matter is that anyone who steps up to this kind of public transparency and open criticism from all quarters deserves credit for stepping up. So good to her for stepping up.
And our final question tonight, it has been a year of divisive politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
Absolutely. I appreciate Commissioner Peck's dedication to our community's historic landmark, the Moore Mansion. Growing up and visiting my grandma, playing around in her backyard off of Road 36, looking over at the boarded up Moore Mansion that offered us kids a lot of opportunities for our imagination. We made up stories about who lived there, and of course we made up ghost stories because that place looked plenty haunted. I remember roasting marshmallows in my grandma's backyard and all of my older brothers' ghost stories coming to life, looking beyond at the Moore Mansion. We were always warned never to go to the Moore Mansion because it was unsafe for us kids. And so I want to thank Commissioner Peck and also Mrs. Peck for their dedication to restoring the Moore Mansion to its full glory.
And finally, you have 90 seconds for a closing statement. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, again, I think this race really, more than anything else, is about experience. With our chairman, Commissioner Cook, retiring this year after a long service to the county, that will leave us come January 1st with a brand new commissioner in one district, a almost new commissioner in another district, and I don't think that we can afford a brand new commissioner in our third district. And that's why I think it's important to retain my experience, my expertise in that third position. I'm well respected across the 39 counties. They would not have voted me in unanimously to serve on the Legislative Steering Committee for State Association of Counties, or the Federal Issues Board, or on the County Road Administration Board, a number of things that are appointments that they frankly reserve for people who have experience and understand the necessities of county government. And then the other thing is to continue my passion for being an advocate for citizens as they interface with their government, as opposed to being an advocate for the government. I am part of the government, but my job is to serve and to help our citizens be successful as they navigate local government.
And finally, tonight, you have 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Elected officials are public servants. They are there to serve all of us. The citizens of our county yearn for a commissioner who's willing to lead through listening. Agriculturists, respected leaders, hardworking residents, county staff, and business owners are supporting me. They are the backbone of our community, and I'm humbled by my neighbors and community members' support. They have donated, volunteered, and voted for me. Residents holding different political ideologies are voting for me. All these people are supporting our campaign because they know that I will represent the values of our community and will provide the leadership our county needs at this moment. The endorsements I have received reflect a desire by good people in our community to have leaders who are representatives of the people for the people. We deserve a commissioner who builds bridges, seeks consensus, and shows up. We deserve a leader who's willing to put people over politics and hear our county's diverse voices. We deserve a commissioner who will listen to science and policy experts, not attack them. I love this county, and I believe in its future. Franklin County voters, you have an important decision to make about what type of leader you want serving our county. Your vote for Kim Lehrman is an endorsement for leadership, innovation, transparency, and collaboration. Thank you very much for having me today, and I encourage anyone who wants to learn more about me to visit electkimlehrman.com.
After you drop off your ballot, you can actually track it to make sure your vote's counted. To track your ballot, you have to go to the Secretary of State's website, votewa.gov. It's like tracking a package. Just type in your name and date of birth. Now to the race for Franklin County Commissioner District Number 2. Here's Veronica Barriga joining us with candidates Rocky Mullen and Ana Ruiz Peralta.
Tell us about yourself and your campaign, sort of an opening statement about yourself and your campaign. Go right ahead.
I'm Rocky Mullen. I'm a lifelong resident of Franklin County. Together with my wife, Tammy, we own and operate Dove Financial Services, Sahara Pizza, and we raise cattle here in Franklin County. I have deep roots here. My family's been here since the late 40s. I grew up on the family farm, which is still in operation today. It started in 1948, so we've definitely been here a long time. So I know the value of hard work growing up on the family farm and what it's like to be a local businessman. So I believe I bring a great wealth of knowledge and experience to the position of county commissioner.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. And anything you want to highlight about your campaign specifically? I know that you are a lifelong, resident of here, but anything about your campaign and, in specifics?
Well, I ran 4 years ago, and it was one of the closest races in state history. I lost by 13 votes out of 26,000. Required a manual recount, and I've stayed engaged ever since. I've been attending the meetings for the past 4 years to better prepare myself for the position that lies ahead, and so that I could gain any experience and knowledge of what's happening, so that I am well informed for the office that lies ahead.
All right, thanks for joining us, Anna. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your campaign.
Thank you all for the invitation. Do you remember the year 2016? Our community was in crisis. We had social unrest over the shooting of Zambrano and a lengthy teacher strike. We were divided. As a long-term resident of Franklin County, I have seen our county's resilient spirit and believe that we need a joint effort to change people's perception about our community. I created and co-founded the Pasco Taco Crawl, which stimulated the economy and brought our community together and has improved the perception of Franklin County over the years. As an interpreter for 12 years and an award-winning agent for 5 years, I've learned about the importance of listening with the intent of learning and working with people from all backgrounds. I've also been deeply involved in a number of volunteer leadership roles. I achieved my vision of 20 years to what now is the Pasco-Colima Friendship and Cooperation Agreement. This brought communities from 2 different countries together to exchange the best of each other. To being a commissioner in the Washington State Commission on Hispanic Affairs, where I listen to community stakeholders around the state and learn about the issues affecting our communities and the legislative process. As a current board chair of Tri-Cities Community Health, where we have managed a budget of over $38 million and under my leadership devised a strategic plan that now is our guiding north. I'm a convener, bridge builder, problem solver, and community champion. I believe it's the moment to put all of our leadership experience at the service of Franklin County. Thank you.
Go ahead and give us your top 2 Franklin County concerns and explain to us why they are your 2 top concerns.
We need to address the roads in Franklin County. We have roads out in the outlying areas and bridges that are unsafe. And in order to get our product to market from the agricultural sense, we need to make sure that our infrastructure is in place. And we've had a road shift tax, and we've been taking about 1.7 million away from the roads, and our roads are suffering. So we definitely need to get that addressed, and we need to go through everything and find the most feasible way of running the county and get our roads repaired. And also we need to address the mental health issue. I mean, we have a problem here that's not going away, and we do need to get it addressed and make Franklin County a safe place for everyone.
Give us your top 2 Franklin County concerns and tell us why they are your top 2 concerns.
My top 2 concerns would be the detox facility that both Benton and Franklin County desperately need. We've known for many years that this is a problem. It's a public health problem, and something that also both counties have agreed that we need to work on. I think we are placing an unnecessary burden to our law enforcement, because they are not only asked to keep us safe, but they are also asked to be social workers and to assess this crisis in many cases, what our community members, some of them, they need some assistance with a detox facility. So that's my first priority. My second priority is COVID recovery, economic recovery. We need to come together and see how we're going to stimulate the economy and get us back on track. I believe, again, we have a great future ahead of us, and I believe we can get there.
What would you do differently in the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I would try to get the county opened back up. We're suffering, both economically and just mental health. It's hurting our small businesses, and it's hurting the population. We need to address that issue, because we have suicides that are on the rise. We have people losing their businesses, and it's not socially healthy for people to stay quarantined and stay by themselves. I do realize that there is a pandemic that is going on, and we do have to social distance, but I believe that we can do it if we all work together and follow the guidelines of social distancing and get our businesses back open.
Okay, great. Yeah, you still have 30 seconds if you'd like to add anything else, sir.
Well, I do believe that we will get through the pandemic, and we definitely need to work together in unity so that we can get our businesses back open. We can get our lives back to normal. We can get our children back into schools and be operating it safely.
What would you do differently in the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
What I would do differently is take this virus, this public health crisis seriously, support the public health experts and let them guide us and lead the commissioners and the community to how to handle this. I think we wasted some months into the speculation of the veracity of the virus. We know it's something that is going on all over the world, and I think we wasted some time into making this into a political game that I think we lost some time there. But I think I would handle that. What I would do is, go to the subject matter experts, the public health experts and the economic development experts as well, bring the business community together, the chambers of commerce, and come together, also work with the cities and the ports and all the stakeholders to get us safely to reopen and contain the spread of this virus. So I think that's something I would do differently.
What will be your first goal when you step into office?
First goal would be to overlook the budget and start going through that and find out where we can save money, make sure that everything is being ran productively and feasibly. We also need to do performance reviews of everyone to make sure that our county is operating in an efficient manner. So that would be the first look. And then, like I said, we need to start studying to figure out a way that we can get our infrastructure, up to date. We have bridges out in Franklin County that's not safe to drive across with a loaded truck. And there's actually areas in Franklin County that you can't even deliver heavy loads because the bridges simply won't hold you. And those need to be addressed before we have, you know, an accident, and with that's going to come lawsuits. So we need to get that addressed, and that'll be one of my top priorities.
What will be your first goal when you take office?
I think for my plan is for the first 90 days, talk to every department and to get to know what their concerns are. In that official capacity is different than when you are a candidate. So getting to know more in depth what the needs are of the county and working with the different agencies, I think that's very important. Bringing a tone of collaboration where they understand that that's something that, and I know that's something that is sorely needed. And so that would be my first part, getting to know the commissioners, because I know there's a commissioner that is still going to be, you know, he's not up for re-election for another 2 years. So that's something that is really important, and eventually setting our priorities as a county, and that would make us so we don't deviate from the goals that we have, that we will set as county. And we would have, I'm very much into planning and setting the goals so we can get there. So those will be my first goals. Eventually, again, you know, we have an economic recovery ahead of us when we have a vaccine. So that's something that is very important. So those are the top two priorities, I guess.
Tell us something nice about your opponent.
I really don't know her that well, but I see her occasionally, and I mean, she's always pleasant. So she seems to have a passion for Franklin County. So
tell us something nice about your opponent.
I was pleasantly surprised to find out that my opponent has volunteered at the Benton Franklin Fair Rodeo. I think that's a really fun bi-county fair and event that every year has become a tradition. So I think I'm interested to getting to know more about that, his experience, and I guess the stories that I am pretty sure come out every year from our bi-county fair. So it's good. He mentioned that he's been a volunteer there, so that's pretty good.
Tell the folks at home why they should cast a vote in your name.
I am a lifelong resident. I've lived here my entire life, and I've been a local business owner for over 35 years. I have 35 years of business experience in management, negotiating, contract negotiations, working with people, and I believe I am the most qualified candidate for this position. Having deep roots here, I've seen the growth in Franklin County, and I believe I have a lot of insight that others may not. And I've always worked hard in my entire life. I know the value of hard work. I know what it takes to start a goal, to get there, the completion of the job, and the follow-up. I have a lot of business management experience, and I think that's something that probably stands out. I spent the last 4 years attending the commissioners' meetings, so that I am aware of what's happening and what is going on in Franklin County. I am involved, and this is my life. I mean, I want to see Franklin County succeed, and I want to see a great future for the young people in Franklin County and the children.
All right, go ahead and tell the folks at home watching why they should cast a vote in your name.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. My father was in the Mexican military unit, and his unit was sent to assist the American troops during World War II. And from that service, I came to love America. There are deep roots connecting the US and Mexico. I was in my second year of college when I came to our country 22 years ago, and that connection was evident here in Franklin County. When I told my father that I was staying in America and not returning to Mexico to complete my college studies, he gave me his blessing and repeated what he always told me, to always ask, how can I help? 22 years ago, I came as a newcomer, as a new mom. I needed to learn how the school district, health system, and government worked, because these institutions impact all of our lives. I've learned about and got involved in leadership roles where decisions get made. All of these efforts taught me the value of listening, collaboration, and building consensus to achieve and accomplish strategic results. Voters have the opportunity to choose a proven and experienced servant leader who will work to bring us together so that we can face the challenges before us and emerge stronger than ever before. It is the moment for our county to have a proven, inclusive servant leader. Franklin County, like all counties in our state, is facing unprecedented challenges, but our people are strong, our future is bright, and our potential is still limitless. Franklin County has a resilient spirit. We can overcome any challenge before us. If you would like to learn more about my campaign, and I invite you to visit electanaruiz.com. Thank you.
Throughout this town hall, we've been hitting all the notes on how to vote. Here's Jordan Tolbert with everything you need to know about mail-in voting.
Washington and Oregon have been vote-by-mail states for a long time, with Washington becoming a vote-by-mail state in 2005. But you may be wondering, what does this mean for you as a voter?
And so if you are a registered voter, you will automatically be mailed a ballot in any election that you're eligible to vote.
And if you are voting by mail, there's some tips that you should know. Right now, the most important thing you can do is make sure you are registered to vote. If you live in Washington, you can visit votewa.gov for information about voting, to see if you are registered and if your address is up to date. And when you have finished filling out your ballot, make sure you sign it with your most official signature.
We recommend that if you register to vote online, to pull out your driver's license, look and see what your signature looks like on your driver's license, and sign your ballot the same way. Because that is the signature that we capture for your voter registration, and then we compare your signature on your ballot against that.
Next, get your ballot turned in.
There are a couple of ways you can do that. We provide prepaid postage on all ballots, so you can drop it in a postal mail receptacle. If you do that, you want to make sure that you're doing that in plenty of time.
Brenda recommends mailing your ballot at least a week before Election Day. And if you don't, she says you can drop it off in a Dropbox location, which can be found on votewa.gov. Make sure you drop it off by 8 p.m. on election night or earlier if possible. If you have a question, need a new ballot, or would prefer to vote in person, call your local voting center or auditor's office for more information. Reporting in Richland, Jordan Tolbert, NBC Right Now.
Now, before we get to our final town hall, let's tell you the obvious. It's so obvious that you might forget, so here's what you're here to remind you for. Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd. If you can't remember that, write that down. There's no state law in Washington or Oregon that requires employers to give time off to vote. In Washington, there is a law stating no person, including an employer, can attempt to influence any person to withhold their vote. For our final town hall tonight, the race for Legislative District 8 State Representative Position 1. Joining us is State Representative Brad Klippert and challenger Shira Gev.
90 seconds for your opening statement. Go ahead.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be with each and every one of you today. Thank you for this opportunity. Just want to say I am Brad Klippert, running for re-election in the 8th Legislative District. In a time when many people are talking trash about our country, burning our flag, burning our buildings, talking about defunding police, I just want to say I'm extremely proud to be an American. I'm proud of our heritage. I'm proud of our first responders. When I say the Pledge of Allegiance or stand for the national anthem, I either salute or place my hand over my heart. So I just strongly believe in and am very proud to be an American. And I believe in God bless America, one nation under God, and in God we trust. And so it's an honor to have served these last 2 years, and I'm looking forward to serving in the future.
All right, Ms. Regev, your opening statement, please.
All right. My name is Shira Gev. Did you know that me and Representative Klippert actually have some important things in common? We were both born in the same hometown of Sunnyside, and we both served our nation. Between my volunteer tour as a Peace Corps volunteer in Namibia and my multiple enlistments in the Navy, almost 40% of my adult life has been spent in service to the United States. The values of service I carry with me, I learned growing up here in our community. Hard work, kindness, fairness, and respect are Washington values and something I am very proud of. The key difference between me and Representative Klippert is I continue to be proud of our state and its values, while he is trying to split us off to form Liberty State. Since 2008, he has wasted our taxpayer dollars pursuing this reckless vision instead of doing the work of a representative. He says Olympia is out of touch with our community. He might be right, but only because instead of working for us, he's been listening to extremists like Matt Shea instead of reaching across the aisle. Over 20% of our children live in homes experiencing food insecurity, but Representative Clifford voted against the Breakfast After the Bell program, which provides them a nutritious meal. Though Hanford is the largest employer in our district, he voted against the Presumption Act, which was drafted to provide medical assistance for affected workers such as myself. And while he himself is a member of the law enforcement community, he voted against bills which would help first responders seek mental health treatment for PTSD. Simply stated, our own representative has not been representing us well. We need somebody in Olympia who will work to solve our real problems instead of creating new ones by tearing us apart. I will do that for you because I believe together we are Washington.
Give us your top 2 concerns and why.
Top 2 concerns. Number 1 is the fact that our governor has put us in over a $3 billion budget deficit by the decisions he's made. Our founding fathers gave us 3 branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branches. He, in this time of COVID-19 trial, has been running the state all by himself. He has not invited the legislative branch back for a special session to let us help him on this matter. So due to his actions, we've gone from a $1.7 billion in the black, money in the bank for the state operations to over a $3 billion deficit by his actions. Hundreds of businesses have closed. Thousands of jobs have been lost. So we need to recover from that. We need to get Washington working again. And number 2 is this whole defund law enforcement. I've served proudly as a law enforcement officer for 27 years. Our law enforcement officers, by and large, do a fantastic job. I totally and completely support them. I support law enforcement and what we do for our communities on a daily basis. So we need to do everything we can to back our law enforcement officers, back the blue.
The first question, Ms. Regev, is give us your top 2 concerns and why.
My top 2 concerns for our district is we have a severe shortage of affordable housing. Over 20% of residents in the district are paying over half of their monthly wages in rent. And actually over half of residents are paying so much money towards rent or mortgage that they're above the recommended 30% debt to income ratio, which means they're unable to save for emergencies, and that's a problem. The other thing is we have a shortage of access to mental health care, and we have an above average rate for suicide within our district specifically. You know, our state's already above the national average and we're above the state average. So for me, top 2 priorities are finding solutions to our affordable housing crisis and providing access to affordable health care, and in particular, mental health care.
What would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I never would have totally and completely shut us down for the length of time that the governor did. His initial response was valuable and understandable. You know, for the first 2 weeks, we had to see what was going on. But as time went on, the numbers did not support his decisions. Let's just take the most recent numbers that I got from Olympia. Less than 1.25% of the state's entire population has tested positive for COVID-19. Less than 0.1% has been hospitalized for COVID-19. 27 1/100% have died from COVID-19. The CDC says that 40+% are asymptomatic, and the World Health Organization says 80% of those who catch COVID-19 will only have mild symptoms. So he has severely overreacted, and I would not have. So after the first 2 weeks, saw that these numbers are not worthy of a state of emergency, I would have kept Washington working, and I'd get our kids back in school, giving them a quality education that's guaranteed to them by our Constitution.
Our second question is, what would you do differently in handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
That's a difficult question because it's something that nobody's ever experienced before in our lifetimes, right, in over a century. So it's kind of hard to fault current leadership for flying blind, as it were. The biggest thing I would have done differently compared to Governor Inslee is I would have allowed our small businesses to open up much sooner. One of the frequent comments I hear from my friends who themselves are small business owners is, we don't understand why box stores were allowed to open when we provide the exact same services to the community. And small businesses are the lifeblood of our district, and they're the heart and soul and character. So I would have enabled them to open up sooner.
If you win this re-election campaign and go back to office, what will be your first goal when you return?
My first goal will be to work collaboratively with my fellow legislators on both sides of the aisle to get this budget deficit fixed. The number one thing we can do is get Washington working again. The citizens of Washington State are strong. They're resilient. They're innovative. If we will get government out of the citizens' way and allow them to grow and prosper, they will do phenomenal things. It's the people of Washington State that make this the great state that it is. It's the people of the United States that make this country the greatest country in the world. Hard-working people who want to get back to work, who want government to take the cuffs off them and allow them to work unrestrained once again.
And what would be your first goal when entering office?
To get our district taken seriously and listened to. It's hard to make the argument that Olympia ignores our community or ignores the Tri-Cities when for 12 years our representation has not been trying to work with Olympia. So I think having somebody in the state capitol who's ready to do the work of representing our district and make sure that we're listened to and taken seriously is my number one priority, because once we have that, we're going to see everything else fall into place for us.
And our final question in the question and answer portion. It has been a divisive year for politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
Oh, my opponent is fantastic. Love her to death. I enjoy her as a friend. I'm very thankful that she's running. She's carrying out what she believes to be her civic duty, as she and every citizen should do. So I'm very thankful for Shir Regev. We had a great competition against each other the last time she ran. I got to meet her parents. They're wonderful people. And so I'm just thankful for Shir Regev that she takes her civil responsibilities seriously and that she's running for this office, as all citizens should. So thank you, Shir Regev, for taking your responsibilities serious, running for this office, and caring about the people of the 8th Legislative District and Washington State. We differ on a whole lot of the issues, and that's why we're both running on from different party tickets, but still, she's a great person, and I'm very thankful for her. Enjoy her as a friend.
And our fourth and final question, Mr. Regev. It's been a divisive year for politics. Can you say something nice about your opponent?
I can. 2 years ago when I ran against Clifford, my joke when we were doing all these in-person events is that he's my Brad friend forever, because he is extremely personable, and when you talk to him one-on-one, he's incredibly kind. We have some very extreme differences when it comes to policy, but as far as like sitting down and having a conversation, you know, he's a very amenable person, and I appreciate that about him.
And finally, 90 seconds for your closing statement, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Washington State is the greatest state in the country. I love living in Washington State. The Tri-Cities, what a history. I mean, with the Manhattan Project that brought the nuclear age to the world right here in the 8th Legislative District. This is where it started. This is where we created what we needed to win World War II. And once again, that was innovative, hardworking, patriotic people from all around this nation came to Washington State to make that happen. And that's still happening today. The possibilities are endless for our future. So please don't let the current times dissuade you. Know that it's the people of Washington State that make us great. I believe in you. I'm very thankful for each and every one of you for all that you do. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you as a law enforcement officer, a soldier, and a legislator, and I look forward to doing it for the next 2 years. God bless you. God bless your families, and God bless America.
Finally, you have 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Our entire nation is at a crossroads, and we don't exist in a bubble. Our community is a crossroads, and we face very real problems that need somebody who's going to work to find real solutions to them. Whether it's the affordable housing crisis that I've already discussed, or the access that we need to affordable health care so people don't go bankrupt because they've had one unexpected bill. These are issues we need to address. We need to address the environmental crisis that affects our community. I mean, as it stands right now, because of smoke from persistent wildfires year after year after year, we're in danger of losing some of our most profitable wine crops. So I'm ready to do that work for you. And I think it's time that we have a change in direction in our leadership. And I hope that I'm able to earn your vote by November 3rd. Please visit my website at thetabletcheer.com to learn more. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for listening.
That completes the town hall for the hottest and biggest races in our area. We hope you leave with more knowledge on how to vote and get a better idea of who these candidates are instead of just names on a ballot. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd. I'm Scott Daniels, evening news anchor for KNDU. Have a great night, and only one last thing to do. Go vote.